Welcome to My Favorite CX, a podcast that celebrates exceptional customer experiences. To listen to today's, please choose from one of the following options.
Welcome to My Favorite Customer Experience. This week I'm joined by Andy Moorhouse from Analytical. Andy, welcome.
Hi, Chris. How are you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. We're recording this just after the Christmas break, so hopefully we've both got some customer experiences we can talk about. And going to introduce Andy. He's a conversational intelligence lead with a focus on speech analytics, AI technology, and performance improvement. I've come across Andy on LinkedIn as he's a thought leader who regularly posts articles on LinkedIn with in-depth looks at various aspects of customer experience. And I think we might chat about one of those later today. But Andy, why don't you tell us a bit more about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, brilliant stuff. So I would say I'm an analytical geek, and it's taken me quite some time to be comfortable in this little world. So, your intro's spot on. So I work in the field of conversation science. So the thing that really drives me and I'm really passionate about is figuring out what is it from the human utterances that correlates with improved customer experience or improved revenue or decreased churn. So I go into big enterprise contact centers and get right down in the weeds, in the minutiae of human conversations. And it's my job to figure out, what do we need to do differently to drive the customer experience needle? And the really interesting thing is the answers aren't what anyone ever expects. If you speak to customer experience leaders, contact center leaders, they will say things, we need more empathy. We need our customers to just demonstrate empathy at every touch point. And you go, actually. And so, we can talk about some of these insights. And it gets really exciting when you look at what actually corrodes customer experiences. Because when you look at the dashboards of all of these big speech analytics companies, they look at the happy, clappy stuff. The smile when you dial, you've got to be personable and polite. But actually, they don't look at the corrosive customer experiences. And really, it's a lot easier to remove them, and that really drives the needle. Things like contempt. There's an organisation, £4 billion organisation, and they have about 60,000 FCA registered complaints, a Financial Conduct Authority. And they were like, we don't know why we keep getting so many FCA complaints. So 62% of all FCA complaints had an agent that demonstrated contempt for the customer. Things like, and this is verbatim, you was the one that bought a TV you couldn't afford, and that's why you got a black mark on your credit file. And you go,
wow.
And then there's a behavior which is powerless to resolve, and it's riddled with canned empathy. I'm so sorry. I would be frustrated too if I had a black mark on my credit file, but there's nothing we can do. The thing is, it wasn't us, it was them. You'd need to contact Experian. And so this is why empathy is, for me, it's such a red rag, because it doesn't fix anything. And in fact, it's now you have empathy dashboards where you have 100% empathy targets. And you just think that's not it. So when you actually understand what drives customer experience from a conversation intelligence level, you can really drive the needle. And you can obviously, this is, you had an aspiration of 15 minutes. I'm going to be succinct because otherwise we'll keep going. But that's what I do. And increasingly, I've been looking at how organizations get ready for voice AI. So if you speak to contact center leaders and say, look, in 10 years' time, when people contact you and your organization, will they speak to a human or a robot? Invariably, they go, it's probably going to be a robot. Okay, how do you get there? Because today, you've got your variant telephony disposition codes, reasons for contact. You've got 180, and they're not right. And they're not really the reasons for contact at all, apart from fraud in a bank. Then you've got a totally separate silo, conversational AI or a digital team. You have 120 odd intents over there in your chatbot. They're not aligned with what's in your in your voice channel. You've got 400 self-serve options online, which and your online journeys don't match with what your app team have built. Then you've got marketeers, and you have this meet the customer in their channel of choice. But then you look at Twitter, you can't, HMRC, 82% of all HMRC Twitter responses are, yeah, we can't give tax advice on Twitter. So why are you on Twitter? If you look at a bank, I did some work with a big tier one bank, 35.5% of all detractors, the most furious people, could never ever have had that intent fixed on live chat. So what's emerged out of this is this horrible omnishambles of, just there's this vendor rhetoric of seamless and frictionless. But actually, and this is boring and no one wants to do this, until you have a common language of contact reasons, an intent taxonomy, really, until you create an intent taxonomy or just call everything the same, you can't have this seamless thing. And so I've been spending quite a bit of time helping companies figure out how to do that. And this particular bank, so we created it, we had some buy-in, but we didn't get the right buy. So we've got the perfect intent taxonomy, and everyone's going, yeah, we'll just keep, we're not changing our IVR, we're not changing our reporting labels. Marketeers like, we're just, we're not going to align. And so the problem getting everything stitched together isn't really a technical challenge, it's a human challenge. I think I've said in a couple of articles, I think you've commented, it's not an artificial intelligence problem, it's a human intelligence problem. And people, really to make this work, you have to have cross-functional teams across the silos, but the day job never goes away. And nobody owns customer contact. Therefore, unless you have really board level customer experience director, operations director, CEO saying, make this happen and fix this shit. Oops. Then it's not going to work. So
no, I think I see that when I speak to contact centers as well. It's like, how do we get the various different functions to realize that customer experience is a holistic thing now?
Your call is important to us. Please hold and you'll be connected to your next favorite customer experience shortly.
So you talked there a phrase I absolutely loved, of the horrible omnishambles, of trying to get all of this approach right across a business, and how we get everyone bought into the same realization that customer experience is owned across an organization, not within these silos. You talked about intent taxonomies, which isn't something that you generally see. You talked about the dispositions, those reason codes, and I made a prediction on another podcast recently of maybe it's not a 2025 thing, but surely we're getting to the point where that list of 100, 200, 1,000 reasons that the business thinks, when the agent can then only select one or two, surely we're at the point where our analytics tool will tell us what that call was about. If not in the near future, then maybe in the midterm, in the next couple of years. While we finish up this section, what's the biggest opportunity you're seeing out there to create exceptional customer experiences?
So I would say, if you look at, again, I work mostly with big enterprise, the messy, nasty end of the contact centers. And the biggest opportunity, well, despite all of these investments in digital, self-serve, conversational AI, automation, inbound telephony volume hasn't dropped. I did some work with Verizon, and we looked at 8 billion phone calls, 8 billion phone calls. And did I just do that? And So we looked at 8 billion phone calls, and at best, in these big enterprises, it's plateaued. And that's 4 or 5% of enterprises. Everyone else, the inbound contact volume is going up. But you spent 10, 20, 30 million pounds on your digitization strategy, digital first, contact, and self-serve. So there's something fundamentally broken here where inbound telephony hasn't dropped. And again, there's this rhetoric in the marketplace. Now we've automated the simple stuff, only complex conversations get through. It's not true. Did some work with the bank. 62% of all calls are literally banking transactions. Make a payment, move money, cancel a check. So the opportunity is to truly automate things. And I remain firmly technology. I remain firmly agnostic with all these potential technologies, but the principle of intent level triage for me is the biggest opportunity, and it's the most exciting thing. And really, you mentioned Twitter earlier on. This piece of meet the customer in their channel of choice fundamentally doesn't work, because not all intents are equal or resolvable on every channel. And I think in the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to see people where you have valuable and vulnerable contact really prioritized, with no lag, and maybe even agents, dialing, outbound, direct contact with these, valuable and vulnerable, and really quite firm rerouting. I don't want to call it deflection, but rerouting on triage, really. So the 20, 30% that can easily be automated, password resets, address change, the stuff that you really don't want them speaking to an agent for. If there's no vulnerability in the customer metadata, then you need to triage that and send it off. And I looked at DWP in quite a bit of detail. So 2 years ago, they asked me to write their guiding principles for their future state contact center. So it wasn't. I'm not a technologist, so I didn't write a technology-based briefing. And one of the principles was, triage, and triage again was in the deck. And all the leaders are like, oh yeah, well we've tried, next available agent and skills-based routing, but really the technology exists now where you can look at the urgency and importance of those contacts and make a prioritization judgment. And you have to do this for every single intent. And most banks have 450 inbound intents into consumer banking, and then you have a long tail of nested intents. So it's quite. I love it. Stakeholders don't seem to enjoy going through these lists, but it's until you do that work, you're not going to get this, the outcomes you want, and that's what's missing. And I think that's the most exciting and biggest opportunity, is intent level triage, really. And nobody's doing it properly, and I think that's really the biggest opportunity today to drive improvements in customer experience.
And actually, if we do look at it from a technology perspective, that's where we get excited about conversational AI and it's going to fix everything and automate everything. But actually using the AI to turn it on the data and do that triage probably has more value. I love the point you made about, well, why don't we concentrate on those higher value, those high vulnerability? Everyone looks at conversational AI as, oh, that's a great way of maybe having less agents. Reuse those agents, put them on the front foot to be contacting your most valuable and vulnerable customers. Repurpose, redefine how you provide a customer experience.
I suspect most contact center leaders can define the kind of valuable contact they want to have. But today, again, I do a lot of work in banking, had an example of a customer saying, I have multiple ISAs. So we have mostly British audience, tax-free savings accounts. And they had multiple ISAs with different banks. So they said to the chatbot first, hey, if I consolidate my ISAs, am I going to lose interest? Does it matter which day I consolidate my ISAs? To you, tier one high street bank, the chatbot's not going to know that answer, which is fine. So that goes to a human agent who goes, yeah, I don't really know. You'd need to contact them. Okay. So this isn't a channel shift where you've got a phone. It's like, I'm powerless to resolve. I can't help you. So the customer marked it as a detractor. It's 0 on the NPS scale. It's like the absolute worst end of most severe dissatisfaction. But in terms of valuable, you have a high net worth customer saying, I have multiple thousands, tens of thousands of pounds, and I'm looking to consolidate all of that to you. And I need some help because I need to figure out, am I going to lose interest? What we need are rules engines, triage-based systems, which goes, when it hits the chatbot, because they decided to message, that's fine. What is it you're contacting us about today? Oh, you need to triage that. And the best resolution, I believe, would be a co-browsing session where your agent, specialist in ISAs, insurance, might even say, hey, you know what? We're going to get the answer and I'm going to stay on. We're going to contact Barclays. We're going to contact Lloyds. And we're going to find those answers. And I'm with you until we find the answer. It might take an hour, but the bank might win £50,000. So when people talk about the value of an intent or a contact, if you put it in those terms, then it's, I don't want to say a paradigm shift, but if you start thinking differently about how you want, what is your preferred resolution for that contact? They might have started over there, it's fine, but you've got to triage it to your preferred place of resolution. And again, you have to do that for every damn intent. If it's an address change, web form is absolutely the best. You don't want to conversationalize it with an AI bot on the phone because it's going to screw it up, right?
Yeah.
So
if someone's doing that on the phone, send them an SMS straight to the web form. And I think that goes back to your point earlier as well of like meeting people on a channel of choice only works if something's resolvable. I have no problem being in one channel if I'm then going to be sent to another channel to resolve something straight away.
Yeah.
If I get the Twitter reply, or maybe not Twitter nowadays, but another network that says, actually, you just need to go to chat. I'm not going to go to chat unless you tell me I can be resolved, because I don't have the faith in the experience. But maybe what we'll do is we'll take a break there and we'll come back and we'll talk about a positive experience and one that you would rank as one of your favorites.
Please do. Let's do that. Yeah.
Thank you for listening to My Favorite CX. Your listenership is important to us. On your keypad, please press a number between 1 and 5 to rank how much you've enjoyed your experience.